Outcasted OC. Viewer discretion is advised. Incoming transmission in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, everybody? It's Courtney here from the Outcasted OC Podcast, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw recap. You guys know how I go with this. I don't spend too long talking about it, so I can spend more time talking about the show. Let's get straight into it. So Monday Night Raw this week kicks off with a Fastlane PLE recap. All of the matches that were shown on the premium live event, we got to see little highlights and bits and pieces from all of the matches on the card. I think this is really cool to see for a casual wrestling fan, but for somebody like me who keeps up with it on a daily basis, this is irrelevant to me. But anyway, we start off the show after the video recap with Seth Rollins making his way out to the ring and welcoming everybody to Monday Night Rollins. He's saying that he's feeling some type of way and that Shinsuke Nakamura took him to his limit, and he kept getting back up and he kept fighting, and that's why he's still the World Heavyweight Champion. But he did say that after he came out the back, the adrenaline started to wear off and his back is still in fact broken. He said that being the World Heavyweight Champion is one of the greatest honours of his career. And then we start to get a whole lot of thank you Rollins chants, and Seth goes ahead and says, "I'm just getting started," because he obviously makes it try and sound like he's, going to tell us some bad news, but he's like, the bad news is I'ma keep going. Then we end up hearing him talking about how he will take on any person, anytime, any stipulation, he doesn't mind. And then we end up hearing Drew McIntyre's music hit. Now Drew comes out and Seth basically goes ahead and asks, like, are you here to celebrate? Are you here to party? Because before Drew came out, Seth was like, let's go get some drinks. Let's go celebrate the win, blah, blah. And he basically is like, are you wanting to party with me? Are you wanting a World Heavyweight Championship title match? And Drew goes ahead and says that the party is still on and I do want that title match, but I want it when you are closer to 100%. How does Crown Jewel sound? And Seth goes ahead and then says, well, I mean, you're not here to jump me. You want me at 100%. I'm not really too sure what's going on here because this doesn't happen to me all the time. So turns around and asks the crowd, he said, how do you guys feel? Do you want to see me and Drew at Crown Jewel and having a World Heavyweight title match? And everybody's really excited. Then he goes ahead and says, you've got it, we'll make it official. And we see Drew McIntyre leaving, and then Damian Priest actually comes and sneak attacks Seth Rollins from behind. We end up seeing Damian Priest is like welcoming Dominic Mysterio out because it looks like he's about to cash in. So Dominic runs out with the briefcase, and as Drew McIntyre's leaving, he grabs the briefcase out of Dominic's hand and literally chucks it. He fully goes Jey Uso and goes yeet across to the entrance ramp and gets rid of it. And then we end up seeing Drew McIntyre throwing the briefcase and obviously trying to hold Dominic Mysterio back. But then we see Seth Rollins get the upper hand on Damian Priest and come out victorious from the sneak attack. How do you guys feel about Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins being made official for Crown Jewel? I am very excited for this match and I can't wait to actually see how it goes down. But to see backstage that Kofi Kingston and Xavier are warming up for Kofi's match later on in the evening, which is followed by Ivar doing the exact same. We then have a commercial break and come back and have the match between Kofi and Ivar. Now this is a Viking rules match, so it's not the same as the match we had last time, but it's got the stipulation of Viking rules. Anyway, straight away from the beginning, Ivar is kicking on Kofi, but Kofi launches himself over the top rope and hits on Ivar. We end up seeing Kofi splashing Ivar in the back. Lots of weapons were used in this. Kofi hits the SOS on Ivar. We end up seeing Ivar going for a moonsault, but Kofi meets him on the top rope. Then Kofi throws Ivar by his beard into the commentary table, which was really cool to see. Valhalla comes in to interfere and Xavier comes to help out Kofi. Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise, and then we end up seeing, well, he tries to hit the Trouble in Paradise, I should say. And then Ivar throws Kofi into the table and Ivar hits Kofi with a moonsault to come away with the win. I am kind of a little bit over this feud. I feel like this has very much been a filler feud for both teams. I'm not really too sure where we go from here, but there was a good match, and I feel like Ivar and Kofi have a lot of in-ring chemistry together. I feel like this has been good for the meantime, but let's move these teams on to something more substantial. Byron Saxon's backstage, and he's trying to get a few words in with Shinsuke Nakamura post Fastlane match with Seth Rollins. He's trying to ask him some questions in relation to the match, but Shinsuke's not really answering the question. Then we end up seeing Ricochet fully running into the interview segment and starts sneak attacking and just fully brawling in with Shinsuke Nakamura. We then see backstage in the Judgment Day area Damian Priest is like holding up JD McDonough. I'll put a picture of it here if I can find it. He's fully holding the Funko Pop man up against the wall, and he's like getting really angry at him and like, this is the consequences for your actions. You fully deserve it after what happened the other day. And then the entirety of Judgment Day comes in and pulls Damian Priest off of JD McDonough and tries to talk to, bring him down. And then JD tries to interfere and talk to Finn Balor, but Finn's had enough of it. He's like, nah, you've done enough. You've caused enough problems. I've had enough of you. And then Damian goes ahead and asks, well, where was Rhea Ripley and Finn Balor? But they were actually talking to Adam Pearce, setting up a rematch for Judgment Day and Cody and Jay. And then Damian goes ahead and says, well, now I've got more issues to deal with. I've got to deal with Drew McIntyre. And then Rhea Ripley assigns JD McDonough the responsibility of handling Drew McIntyre tonight, so we see later on in the night that there is a match set up between the two of them. This entire segment literally had me in stitches. I was crying my eyes out with laughter. As I said, I will find the picture and I will put it next to me because it was so funny. We had a match between Nia Jax and Raquel Rodriguez. This match didn't really get a lot of time. It was more or less to serve storyline purposes. So straight away from the very beginning, Nia's getting the upper hand. She's fully bulldozing on Raquel. Raquel ends up shoulder barging Nia into the ring post inside the ring. As I said, Nia is still very much dominating Raquel in this match. She throws Raquel into a barricade and then side slams Raquel. Raquel tries to lift Nia but ends up failing to do so, which Nia then counters with a Samoan drop. Then she goes into the corner to set up the finisher, but then we end up seeing Raquel picking up Nia for the Tahana Bomb. Rhea Ripley runs in and she starts taking people out, so she rips Raquel Rodriguez out and starts going for Nia. Raquel comes back in and starts going for the both of them. Then we see there's a three-way brawl between all three of them, and then Shayna Baszler ends up coming in and she's just fully going for anybody. She ends up hitting a suplex and a running knee. I'm not really too sure what's going on here. I feel like they're setting up another triple threat or a fatal four-way match for a premium live event. Why is the default to always do a triple threat match or to do some form of brawling segment for the women? Why can't we just... I'm not even going to bother wasting my energy on this. I'm just going to tell you what happened and move on. Then we see backstage Drew McIntyre's just chilling, and we see Seth Rollins running in, and Seth Rollins is like, how do you feel about the match being made official by Adam Pearce? We got it done. It's awesome. Seth Rollins changes his tune and goes like, what's your issue, Drew? Like, what's with this attitude change? Like, what's going on? And he starts talking about how obviously Drew has very much changed internally in the last couple of weeks. Drew McIntyre is defending his actions and defending his decisions, and Seth Rollins basically goes ahead and says that Drew McIntyre can't take this title off him. So I'm very excited for this match. I feel like if they build this feud up a little bit more in a very similar way to the way they built up Shinsuke Seth, I would be a very big fan of this. Then we see that the bros who had a few drinks at the presser are coming in there backstage. So we see the new tag team champions, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, rocking up. Then we end up seeing Jackie Redmond's catching up with Shayna Baszler, and she's asking like, what was with all of that before? Why did you interfere? What was going on? Then we end up hearing Shayna go ahead and say that she is the baddest woman in the ring and that nobody sneaks attacks her and gets away with it. I've literally only just remembered this now, but I forgot to mention that when Rhea Ripley ran into the Nia and Raquel match, it actually ended in a no contest, so nobody won. But are we surprised though? That's what WWE loves to do. They love to book the finish of that match so that everybody still looks strong. Anyway, then we end up seeing Michael Cole is standing in the middle of the ring, and he welcomes out Jay and Cody individually so that he can have a chat with both of the new tag team champions. Jay goes ahead and says, it's a really good time that I'm now the two-time tag team champion, and obviously my partner is Cody Rhodes, and he hits us with a good old-fashioned yeet, which, I mean, if you know, you know, that entire press conference had me in stitches. I originally watched it in 2x speed because it was at the end of Fastlane and I just wanted to get it done. And it wasn't until the next day that I actually realized that they were fully just like completely sloshed. And I've just, honestly, that is probably one of the best press conferences of the entirety of 2023. Forget any AEW press conference. I would be down to see Cody and Jay drunk any day of the week. They honestly look like they'd be such a cool group of people to be drunk with. Like, sign me up. So Michael Cole goes ahead and asks Cody Rhodes. He says, you know, in short layman terms, he says, what happened to the end of your original, you know, goal of actually finishing the story? Which, I hate to say it, but a lot of us are very much thinking the same thing. So shout out to Michael Cole for being the MVP, for actually asking the hard-hitting questions. And he says, well, you know, like, are you content with the way that you're wanting to finish the story now? Are you not doing it anymore? Like, we saw a documentary come out about your life. Is this kind of how it's gonna be? And he said, well, do you feel as though you don't want to go for the main championships because you failed and, you know, you're scared? And Cody goes ahead and said, well, you know, Fastlane really very much was a moment. I managed to get Jey Uso back in the WWE and I'm now a tag team champ. And then Michael Cole is like, well, you're not really understanding my original point, you know, and goes through all of his career highlights in terms of 2023. So, you know, winning the Royal Rumble, coming back from his pec injury, you know, being in the main event of WrestleMania, all of these different things that he's done. And he's like, is this you finishing your story, you know? And then out of nowhere, we see Sammy and KO come out. Now, I just want to mention very quickly, because I saw some issues online about this. There was actually a theme blunder. So they played the wrong Sami Zayn theme. So they played the beginning of Worlds Collide and then that remix Def Rebel theme. And I was like, no, we're not having this comeback at all. Like, this is the worst theme in WWE history. Just bring me back the proper version of Worlds Collide. But it's actually been said online that apparently the audio engineer played the wrong theme. So I'm so stoked that we're never going to hear that ever again. And, you know, Sami Zayn goes ahead and actually references the fact. He's like, oh, I actually haven't heard this song in quite a long time. And he said, let's talk about the real story here. You know, that the Usos were the longest reigning tag team champs. And that KO and I, you know, we beat them in the main event of WrestleMania. And obviously acknowledges the fact that, you know, Cody and Jey actually did end up beating the Judgment Day for them at Fastlane, and said that's the story. And says, well, congratulations, Cody, I'm super happy for you, and I'm super happy for you, Jey, you know, like, you deserve it. I know everything you've gone through, but I can't help but feel any mixed emotions because I feel like we should still be the champions. And KO comes and he's like, nah, there's no mixed emotions here. I'm just not happy that you guys are the champs. And he says, I want the titles back, and challenges Jey and Cody for a tag team match tonight for the titles. And then goes ahead and says, well, you know, the problem is that you won't accept the titles because that you know that you'll lose them this soon after winning them to us again. And Cody accepts the challenge. So in the main event tonight, we will be seeing Cody and Jey going up against KO and Sami Zayn. I'm very much looking forward to this match. We see the Alpha Academy is backstage now. Otis is hitting Chad with some chops before his number one contender title match against the likes of Ricochet and Bronson Reed. They're all fighting off in a triple threat match to find out who is the number one contender for the IC title. And we hear, you know, Chad talking about how he almost beat Gunther and that he wants to do it again. Bronson Reed comes in and tries to intimidate Chad before the match. Then we see the beginning of the match, and I put it in quotation marks because it's pretty much used for Ricochet to come out and get beaten down by Shinsuke Nakamura, and only for officials to come out and try and break them up before the actual start of the triple threat. Then we go to an ad break and we come and see that Ricochet is standing in the middle of the ring because he's going to still be participating in this triple threat match. I was going to say tag team. That's later on in the night. Let's talk about that triple threat though. Match kicks off with Ricochet and Chad both trying to team up on Bronson. Bronson ends up hitting a vertical suplex and we end up seeing Ricochet kicking Bronson. Bronson ends up launching both Ricochet and Chad outside of the ring, and then Chad ends up hitting a full Nelson suplex onto Ricochet, which I thought was really cool, very athletic. I really loved it. Chad's hitting Bronson Reed with an armbar outside of the ring. You know how he kind of hangs off the ring ropes outside and then he has the person inside of the ring. But then we end up seeing that Bronson has both men on his shoulders and ends up dropping them on their back. Ricochet's hitting some really nice sequences on Bronson, which you could always appreciate a good sequence from Ricochet. Ricochet hits a crossbody followed by a standing shooting star press onto Chad Gable, and then Ricochet ends up kicking Bronson. Chad ends up following this up with a really nice suplex onto Bronson. Bronson hits a running senton bomb followed by a tsunami for the win. So Bronson Reed is the next in line for a title opportunity against Gunther. This is actually going to be happening next week on Monday Night Raw, and I am very excited for this match. I think it is going to be an absolute banger. Then we see that Jackie Redmond's backstage and she's quickly catching up with Becky before her match against Tegan tonight. Asks her how she's feeling. You know, we were supposed to have this match last week, but we're getting it now, so how are you feeling? And she goes, physically, I'm not 100%, but I am a fighting champion. She references the fact that her new book's out and that people should go and get it. And she says that, you know, this NXT championship match is a huge opportunity for Tegan. I am going to be a wounded bear, so she better give us a good fight. Then we see Xia Li come in, and she's casually just asking Becky, she's like, well, what about me? Where's my opportunity? Becky goes, well, I'm not very much a hard woman to find, so if you want an opportunity, you know where to find me. So it looks like after Tegan and after Lyra, because whoever the winner of this match is going up against Lyra at Halloween Havoc, we might see Xia Li getting a shot with the NXT Championship. Then we had the match between Drew McIntyre and JD McDonough. So straight away, it's really funny because Drew kind of looks at JD and then the camera pans so you can actually see the height difference. You got JD here and then Drew McIntyre is about here. So Drew's just kind of staring down at JD. But JD doesn't let that get the best of him. He starts slapping and hitting Drew with some chops. Drew hits a really nice back body drop onto JD, which honestly, when they show the replay of that, the height that he got was just insane. Drew hits a neck breaker onto JD, and JD's constantly going for Drew's knee in this match, so he gets it initially and just keeps going after that knee throughout the match. Drew hits a clothesline on JD, and then Dominic Mysterio ends up throwing Drew into the ring post because he's ringside helping out JD. JD's focusing on Drew's left leg again. Dom tries to grab Drew McIntyre, but then Drew McIntyre ends up hitting a Future Shock DDT, ends up setting up the Claymore and comes away with the win. We end up seeing Damian Priest is backstage actually watching the match when Rhea Ripley comes in because they're kind of confused as to why JD couldn't get the job done, and Rhea goes ahead and says, I have an idea. Next lot of what we got to see was a bunch of video recaps, so I'm going to go through them super quickly. We saw a recap of the Gunther and Ciampa match from last week. Then we saw a package obviously in conjunction with that where we got to see the return of Johnny Gargano reforming DIY with Tommaso on the main roster. We saw a interview segment quickly with Wade Barrett as well too and DIY, and you know, Wade's talking about is DIY going to be on the main roster? And Tommaso says, well, it's 7 years in the making. The fans basically made us. And Johnny said, well, we wanted to know what if DIY was on the main roster and that this is our moment, and we end up seeing Imperium beat down on DIY. So it looks like the first feud we're going to get is DIY versus Imperium. I'm here for this. I think this is going to be really good. Then we had a video package for Tegan Nox, kind of hyping her up before her match against Becky Lynch. And then we see Tegan is talking about fighting the best version of Natty, and she's quickly having a chat with Jackie backstage in the gorilla position. And we end up seeing Natalya come in. She's very much trying to hype up Tegan. I don't know if this is, you know, pretending to be nice or if it's genuinely her being nice, but I don't know what's going on with Natty. Then we see that Ricochet is backstage after the triple threat match trying to look for Shinsuke Nakamura. He's calling out for him everywhere. Adam Pearce comes in and he's like, hey, like, you don't have to do that. I had security escort Shinsuke Nakamura out of the arena. And next week I've set up a Falls Count Anywhere match for the two of you, so that's set up for next week. And I did notice that Triple H likes to put these little things in the background. I actually saw Drew McIntyre and Rhea Ripley talking backstage behind Adam Pearce and Ricochet, so maybe that's the plan that Rhea had in mind. Then we move on to the NXT Women's Championship match between Tegan Nox and Becky Lynch. This match started off very slow. It looked like it wasn't going to get much time, but then we ended up seeing the pace pick up a little bit. So Tegan was looking very good from the beginning. A lot of good sequences. At the very beginning of the match, it looked as though it was just going to be a match full of roll-ups and roll-throughs because we were getting quite a few of them. But then we end up seeing Becky and Tegan both hitting some very deep arm drags. Becky ended up hitting a baseball slide onto Tegan, which then the pace in this match very much kicks in. Becky hits the disarmer, then Tegan puts Becky into an armbar. Becky hits a really nice missile drop kick onto Tegan, and Tegan hits a really good fall away slam into a bridge cover, which was quite cool. We got to see a disarmer by Becky Lynch at the very end, securing her the win. This was a really good match for Tegan. I do think it did give her an opportunity to show a little bit of her offense towards people who haven't actually seen her wrestle before. See, Adam Pearce is catching up with Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell backstage. They are both asking for updates on Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa after the Imperium beatdown. And Adam Pearce is saying, Johnny's quite beat up. I still haven't heard anything about Tommaso yet. Rhea Ripley comes in and instructs Indy and Candice to leave. She has business to talk about with Adam Pearce. And she goes ahead and she says, I want to sort out this division. It needs to be in order. And I want you to set up me and Shayna Baszler next week for a match. This I am excited for. This, if it's an uninterrupted match and you give it time, I am excited for this. Then we see Tegan Nox is backstage and she's sorting out something on her wrist after her match. She looks quite upset, and so Natalya comes to talk to her and says, hey, you did a really good job. Tegan's beating down on herself and she says, well, I feel like I shouldn't be here. I didn't do a good job because I didn't win. We see Kaden and Katana come in and try and give her some confidence within her performance. And then we see Chelsea and Piper come in, and Chelsea goes ahead and says, what a match, Tegan. Too bad this is kind of like a pity party now. And then Natalya basically says, don't interfere in what's going on. And then Chelsea's like, or what? And then Piper comes in and sets up a match between her and Natalya next week. I feel like Piper's going to squash Natty, but that's all right. Then we see Jey Uso's warming up backstage before the main event match. We see Drew McIntyre coming in. And Drew McIntyre says it's only a matter of time before we see your true colours come out. Jay's like, I got 5 minutes before this match, so how about I show you now? Then we see Sami Zayn coming in and stopping the interaction. And then we end up seeing Jey Uso go ahead and says that it's time for the match, Us. We had a video package of Ludwig Kaiser, very much showing that European excellence, the aesthetics. I pretty much just wrote in my notes, Ludwig Kaiser video package Riz Central, because I was like, this is so just, what do you expect from Ludwig? Anyway, it was a very entertaining video package. I very much liked it. I think they had Tchaikovsky or something playing in the background. I was like, this is the kind of video packages that I like. The main event, which was the tag team match for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Now we had the champions, Cody and Jay, going up against the team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. So Cody and Sammy started this match. Sammy's hitting Cody with some chops, but then we end up seeing everybody getting in the ring and everyone getting involved. Then we end up seeing Sammy and Jay kind of squaring off to each other. They're not really touching each other in the ring just yet. But then we end up seeing Sammy chopping on Jay. We see Kevin and Jay beating each other senseless because they're just absolutely going ham on each other. Everybody starts brawling outside of the ring again, and we end up seeing Kevin Owens throwing Jay onto the table, and we end up seeing Cody and Sammy fighting on the table. Kevin hits a really nice senton onto Jay, and obviously a swanton as well too. We're seeing a couple of sequences with some really good super kicks between all four of them, more or less actually just kind of Jay and Kevin, but nonetheless it was very cool to see. And then we end up seeing that Cody clotheslines Sammy and hits a counter slam and a Cody cutter. Sammy comes in with a blue thunder bomb onto Cody, and then we end up seeing KO and Jay doing some more super kick sequences. We see Kevin Owens hitting a stunner, and we end up seeing this new move that's come in. So it's a combination of the 1D, which the Usos did, and the Cody cutter. I think it's called like the 1D cutter, they call it now. So it's the finishing move that both of them do to secure the win. So that's what they did. I really enjoyed seeing this version of the Cody cutter in 1D. I feel like it's a really good move for them both to use. So the champions ended up retaining. This was super fun, super exciting, and then we saw at the end that there was a sign of respect shown between the two teams. So we saw Sammy shaking Cody and Jay's hand, and Kevin looked quite hesitant at first, but then he came back in the ring, shook Cody's hand, shook Jay's hand, and gave Jay a hug. So maybe that means that there's some form of alliance there again, whether it's permanent or temporary. I guess we're going to find out. But that is all of my thoughts on this week's Monday Night Raw. It was a super fun episode, and I'm finding that Monday Night Raw is feeling less of a mission to get through now, because everything kind of, the pacing is better and the stories are better and everything's kind of starting to make more sense again. Next week's Monday Night Raw looks insanely stacked as well too, and I'm so excited to be able to review that for you guys. But yeah, if you guys stuck around till the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate the support that you guys are showing on the videos. Make sure you go ahead and like and comment on this video what you guys thought about Monday Night Raw. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. It's literally just down there. I can see you hovering around. Just click the button, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we post videos every couple of days with NXT, Raw, SmackDown and AEW reviews. We've got a podcast coming this week which will be ranking WrestleMania themes. We have, and I'm honestly so incredibly jealous of Reese with this, the NXT this week is absolutely stacked, and I'm so jealous of him potentially getting the chance to talk about The Undertaker going to NXT. Like, you guys better watch it, because it's going to be a really good review. And we've got SmackDown review and AEW review coming this week. So make sure you go ahead and follow the Outcasted Instagram so you know when all of the latest videos have dropped and when we're going to be going live for podcasts. Also make sure you check out the description to see our personal social medias so you can keep up to date with what we're doing when we're not posting on here. I'll see you guys in the podcast this week. Bye guys.